On Saturday, Indiana took down Wisconsin in overtime, 78-77, with Lamar Wilkerson's ice-cold free throw shooting clinching a massive resume-boosting win at Assembly Hall. This wasn't pretty. The Hoosiers went nearly 10 minutes without a field goal late in this game, but it showcased their grit and depth, proving they're bubble contenders in a loaded Big Ten, even after the loss to USC. We have to start with the hero of the game, Lamar Wilkerson. If you like watching Lamar Wilkerson play basketball, you're with me. Go ahead, like this video. I know you do. He's a special player. And subscribe as well, because we're going to keep talking about him the rest of the season, obviously, with everything he's doing. It'll help you see more of this channel, and it'll help me know that you want to see more of these Indiana videos. So, now, back to Wilkerson. This guy is having a season for the ages, folks. He dropped 25 points on the Badgers, including all 6 of Indiana's points in overtime in the Final Four in regulation. There are not enough people talking about what he is doing this season at Indiana. Wilkerson went 8 for 8 from the free throw line with his perfect clutch gene that turned a potential collapse into a victory for the Hoosiers. But that's not even more impressive. It is how he's evolving as a player, not just the dead-eye three-point shooter he was known as when he arrived there in Bloomington. Wilkerson, he was pegged as just a three-point specialist, right? A career 40% shooter from deep who racked up 52% of his points from beyond the arc in Indiana's first 20 games. Against Wisconsin, though, he struggled from range, hitting just 1 of 8 from behind the arc. But did he fade? He did not. He adapted, scoring 22 of his 25 inside the arc with fall-away mid-range drives off the dribble and smart attacks on mismatches. Over the last 4 games, less than 43% of his points have come from 3. That's huge from the way he started the season, the way he was known. Wilkerson is now scoring at all 3 levels. He's averaging 23.2 points in Big Ten play. That is the highest for an Indiana player since Allen Henderson's 23.1 all the way back. And you ready for it? 1994, 1995. Folks, that's before some of you were born. That's a historic company. Wilkerson's not just scoring, though. He's creating shots, exploiting defenses, and passing like one of IU's best. Coach Darren DeVries has himself an elite player who will play in the league for a long time, meaning he won't have to be one of those guys that's trying to come back for extra eligibility. Am I right? But for me, it's Wilkerson's consistency. 20 plus points in 8 of 13 Big Ten games this season. Started off with that 44-point explosion against Penn State. That kicked it off. Since then, this team has just continued to grow, continued to elevate from a fringe tournament team to one of the more dangerous teams in the nation that teams aren't going to want to play in the tournament when you got a guy like Lamar Wilkerson on your team like this. If he keeps it up, Indiana's offense becomes so unpredictable, especially in a league where defenses key in on shooters. But Wilkerson, he didn't do it alone. That's the real story here, is he's not doing it all by himself. He had to do it all by himself against USC. We saw how that worked out. But Indiana's supporting cast stepped up big, addressing a season-long issue in which Wilkerson too often carried the load solo. Look at that USC game, like I just talked about. That loss earlier this week. Well, I guess if you're listening on Sunday, I guess last week or whenever your week starts. Who cares? Wilkerson poured in 33 points, but no one else hit double figures. Against Wisconsin, it was different. Tucker DeVries, who's been in a mini slump with his 23 points over the past 3 games, bounced back, 16 points, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks. He played all 45 minutes with guts, grit, and intensity, even when the calls weren't going his way. More on the officiating later on. We got plenty to talk to about that. But he was hitting 3 threes and attacking downhill. And it's his rebounding, it's his defense that has been huge in conference play. For Indiana to beat quality teams consistently, he needs to keep scoring in double figures. And that's where Sam Alexis, who might have been the game's unsung MVP until Wilkerson's heroics, he exploded for a team high 19 points on 19 points on 9 of 10 shooting, and exposed Nolan Winter in the paint. On top of that, He had 7 rebounds and 5 blocks. Alexis dominated the second half with 13 points, posting up in isolation and using power pivots to bully Wisconsin's front court. Indiana hasn't posted much this year, but they fed Alexis repeatedly, and he converted every time. It didn't matter if he was cutting to the basket, back to the basket, whatever it was, they were finding them, and he was converting. His energy was infectious from the tip-off, blocking shots, especially one of the multiple shots of the villain of this game for Indiana, who was Nick Boyd, right? Silencing the crowd, kind of giving it to him a little bit. On top of that, he was great at getting position on the offensive glass. To me, Alexis was the most impactful player on the floor outside of Lamar Wilkerson. This performance, his 8th double-figure outing, shows Indiana's front court potential. Excuse me. With Alexis anchoring things, the Hoosiers outscored Wisconsin 44-28 in the paint, a massive edge in a game where threes weren't falling for him. And I cannot overlook Connor Enright either, with Tatum Connerway as a late scratch due to his illness. Enright got heavy minutes in this game. He responded with 11 points, 6 assists, and 0 turnovers. His 3rd double-figure game. Offensively, Enright attacked aggressively, driving on Boyd for layups and pushing the lead back to double digits. Defensively, he was the most impactful, hounding Wisconsin's top scorers, holding Boyd to 7 of 20 shooting, just 2 of 13 from 2-point range. Now, Boyd still got his. He got 20, going 5 for 6 from 3, but Enright's pressure disrupted his rhythm all game. And that charge he drew on Boyd with 15 seconds left in overtime was a game changer. It saved the game. Sure, Greg Gard, he was fuming. In replays, all this stuff. Like he was all upset about it, flip possession, everything else. But Enright's rim attacks exploited Wisconsin's weak protection without shot blockers. Nick Dorn went scoreless, 0 for 3 from 3. It does look like he just never got the rhythm. He's been so huge for Illinois. But to be honest, it was nice to see them get the win despite Dorn's poor shooting night. Tactically, this game was a roller coaster of swings that highlighted Indiana's resilience and Wisconsin's relentlessness. The Hoosiers built a 14-point first half lead with aggressive drives and kickouts, holding Wisconsin to 32% shooting early. But the Badgers used their quick threes, up-tempo pace to claw back repeatedly. A 10-0 Wisconsin run late in regulation flipped a 68-62 IU lead to 72-68 deficit with under a minute left. Indiana went 5 minutes and 32 seconds without a field goal to end regulation, extending to nearly 10 minutes, including overtime. It wasn't pretty, but they survived with free throws, 10 of 11 down during the drought, and savvy defensive stops. They forced overtime on Wilkerson's ties, then won despite one overtime bucket. Defensive rebounding was a mixed bag. Wisconsin grabbed 14 offensive rebounds, 8 in the first half, generating second chance points. I think they had 14 in this game I saw, despite not being elite on the glass. Indiana allowed 35% offensive rebounding rate, but clamped down late. No Badger had an offensive rebound in the final almost 5 minutes of regulation or overtime, and that sealed it. Overall, Indiana held Wisconsin 38% from the field, a defensive effort that did just enough. Threes were ugly for both IU and Wisconsin, but Indiana's interior dominance, 13 of 15 on the free throws versus 11-12, edged it out over Wisconsin. But of course, the main talking point on Twitter, and after everything else of this game, I just told you all the amazing stuff about this game. The main talking point was officiating, the refs, the zebras, right? People seriously cannot watch basketball without complaining about the refs. And it's not just fans, all right? Former Wisconsin players and Greg Gard were complained and whined after the game. And honestly, it's just pathetic. Like at this point, I'm done, kind of like giving people sympathy. It's absolutely pathetic. I get it. You don't like the call. Deal with it. And I'm consistent on this. Check the tape. okay? Blaming the refs is such a weak way to analyze a game. And honestly, it makes me lose respect for certain people, not necessarily fans because they're just reacting to what other people say, but analysts, people who run podcasts like me that are just constantly saying, oh, it's the refs' fault. It's the refs' fault. No. Now, sure, there were controversial late calls that favored IU. I get it, okay? Enright's charge was one I can see Wisconsin fans being upset over, and the missed travel on the rebound that Indiana got. I get it, okay? Human element, sure. But it evened out over the game. There were multiple missed hook and holds by Wisconsin. Fans were trying to say that, oh, it's just a chicken wing. And honestly, it wasn't at all. Okay. And I wasn't out there complaining, saying that this team wasn't going to win because of the hook and holds. And one of them, they even called a shooting foul on Indiana. I was in disbelief. But thankfully, the refs got the final call of the game right. And I don't normally give the refs a whole lot of credit, but they got it right here. I never want the refs to determine a basketball game. Hear me say that. I never want the refs to determine the basketball game. But John Blackwell absolutely tripped Lamar Wilkerson. There is literally no defense. It was clear as day. The excuse that their legs just got tangled up is so weak. You do not consistently watch basketball with an objective eye if you think that. A player is entitled to their space, i.e. Lamar Wilkerson. Blackwell clearly caused Wilkerson to fall by stepping into his path and not maintaining a legal guarding position, which makes Blackwell at fault. I have no dog in this fight. I'm not an Indiana fan. I'm not an Ohio State. I'm not a Wisconsin fan, all right? I'm an Ohio State fan. I have no dog in this fight. I get why Wisconsin fans are upset, but there were plenty of other questionable calls. This isn't the one that if you're a Wisconsin fan and you want to say, oh, the ref screwed us, this isn't the one to go to, all right? You got other calls that, honestly, you could go to. If you don't want to go to the calls, maybe actually talk about the team. Maybe point out the Winter was being weak in the paint or Andrew Rohde was awful on offense. Anyway, I'm not trying to go after those guys, okay? I'm not trying to do that too much. My point is here, there were questionable calls on both sides. I get being upset with the refs, but refusing to acknowledge a clear foul, it's just pathetic. All right, now get off my soapbox. This is a quad 2 victory. Indiana's second of the season, moving them to 4-8 in quad 1 and 2 games. They are 16-8 on the season, 7-6 in the Big Ten, and they are 1.4 wins above the bubble per Bart Torvik. This was a near must win for Indiana, who is eyeing a 20 regular season victories pre-tournament. Winning out at home was the path. They checked that box in this game. It keeps them on the right side. One step closer to March. In a Big Ten with powerhouses remaining on the schedule, their opportunity is great. They have a great opportunity to get great wins, but the path looks tough. Looking ahead, Indiana hosts Oregon Monday. Another chance to build. If Wilkerson stays hot, DeVries scores consistently, and Alexis and Enright provide the punch, the Hoosiers could make noise, but watch out. Oregon just gave Purdue a really good game at Mackey. Nate Biddle is back. That's a tough team. Even the record won't say it, but that's a tough team. This win wasn't flawless, but it was impressive in its tenacity, right? Big Ten basketball at its dramatic best, all right? We're